Well, here we are again. Time for another video. And as I said to you, I think in the last one, not a lot of progress is going to be made this side of Christmas, because quite honestly I've got such a lot of other stuff on. But I will try and bring you a video every fortnight. There's lots of different bits and pieces to show you. So, and I've still got bits of unboxing that I can do. And this one this week, I've taken out of my box of boxes. This one is for British Railways Western Region coaches. Now, the railways were nationalised in 1948, but the individual regions weren't overly happy about adopting the new sort of liveries that British Railways wanted to introduce, thinking specifically of the what we call blood and custard, carmine and cream. The Western region particularly said, this was the Great Western, God's wonderful railway. We are going to keep our chocolate and cream. And so they did until quite late on. But then of course the Southern region, they insisted on keeping their green, and other regions had their maroon or lime maroon livery. So throughout the 1950s, British Railways was a colourful place. You could find chocolate and cream that might be in a train mixed with blood and custard. There might be a bit of green in there, a bit of red. So you never really knew, unless you had a cracked Great Western Express or something like that, that every single coach was going to be the same colour. And that didn't really change much before something that was introduced in the mid-1960s called Project 64. When a Class 47 was outshopped in a new blue livery with what is now the familiar double arrow symbol, and a rake of coaches in a kind of a blue and grey. This was revolutionary. But eventually everything turned those colours and these individual ones got lost. So I've got a complete rake of chocolate and cream, because this layout is sort of primarily on what would have been a Great Western line. But I've got some green coaches because I've got a little collection of Bullard stuff, and he invented coaches. I've got a couple of blood and custards as well, so that's for another time. But anyway, today I'm going to fit 4 Western Region chocolate and cream coaches into this box. Now, I've got a problem. I've actually got 5 of them. And so let's have a look and see what we've got, shall we? I think if you're going to run any express train, you need a restaurant car. And so I've got a restaurant car, which we'll put into there. So that, I'll try and tidy up as I go along. Go on, that's it. So that deals with that. Now, obviously in those days, there was a good mix of first and second class, and first class offered you a bit more in the way of comfort than it does nowadays. Just trying to have a look and see. This coach seems quite heavy compared to the last one. I wish it wouldn't say made in... No, I'm not going to say that. I'm not allowed to be political or anti anybody. This is one I bought fairly late on. You'll see it's got... Where is it? I don't know if you can see that clearly, just above my thumb. It says the Royal Duchy. It's still got its coach boards on from when it was on a crack express. And the Western had a habit of leaving them on, even when the coaches were used for something else. So we've got our composite, we've got first and second class in there. So we're beginning, you can see how we're beginning to make up a train consist that caters for for everything. This is the one that I think will be the odd one out and that I will have to keep separate. This is a full brake, which would have carried parcels and everything else and mail and what have you. Not essential on a train, but obviously on a really busy and long express train, quite a useful addition. So I think I'm going to keep that in its box. And that might run with my mail and parcels train, we'll have to see. So, what does that leave us? We need a brake van, because you have to have a position where the guard can stop the train in emergency when they were locomotive haul coaches. So here is a brake van, and you can see it's another one. It's still got its Royal Duchy nameplates on it. So this one will go in the box. As I say, these older boxes where I bought second hand, they're getting a bit old and scrappy, and as I said, I know everything I say about important to keep your models in mint and box condition. However, what I would say in my defence of this is that coaching stock, I don't personally feel that unless you've got something really, really rare, like a Hornby Pullman bar car, for instance. Now that is a very collectible item, Hadrian bar. Unless you've got something that you know is going to be of real value in years to come, it's not quite so essential to keep the boxes for your coaches or your goods wagons, because they're going to keep more or less the same value whether they're boxed or unboxed. If you can show that you've looked after them, there's still going to be a value to them if you want to sell them later on. I mean, not everybody wants to sell them, but there you go. Now, we've seen the brake van, the brake coach. We've seen the restaurant car. This one, oh, and we've seen the corridor composite with the first and second. But obviously, you need a lot more second class than you do first class. So, in this box here, if I can get it out, because this layout basically will cope with 4 carriages comfortably. 5 is too long. So, here is just the ordinary second class open, or TSO, I think we would call that in today's parlance, and that would probably seat something like 64 passengers, 32 in one part and 32 in the other. So there you go, and that makes up my train consist. And now I have a complete Western Region train, nice and neatly, all boxed up. And in many ways, this is what will keep the value in years to come, because it's in a box. It's got a lovely picture on the front, got a lovely picture on the side even. Look at that. And it keeps them fresh and safe, and probably in the long term in even better condition than they would be in their original boxes. So I am not in the slightest bit worried about potential loss of value, because from the rolling stock point of, well, from any point of view, I'm not looking to make any money out of this. This is my hobby, and it's also a way I can pass on either a hobby to my grandchildren if they're interested in it, or the family can just sell it and dispose of the money as they want. So to me, I'm giving them something for the future, but at the same time I'm having good fun with it myself. So anyway, that's this week's unboxing, and I've got still got more boxes to go, so there will be enough to there'll be enough to do some unboxings. However, I know you also like to see something running. These won't necessarily be long videos, So I think I better get something up and running, and some of you may find the storyline that I'm going to bring to you this week a bit far-fetched, and it is. It's totally far-fetched, but not impossible. So I'll see you in a few. Now, just a quick word about the line's real history. Passenger services on this line through Thame, Cowley and Oxford came to an end in 1963, when the line between Thame and Cowley was lifted. But there was a BP oil terminal at Thame which remained in use until 1991, when the line was finally closed and lifted a few years after that. However, that is real life. This is Nevards Telling, the station before Thame as you're heading out of Prince's Risborough. On this world, or in this world, passenger services didn't finish till 1970. And the freight then continued on, as I said before. We'll match the British Rail date of 1991. However, in 1972 there was a major disaster, a gas explosion, multiple gas explosions, destroyed this part of the town completely, and most of the station with it, although a part of it is left more or less intact, and nobody really understands how that escaped or how the signal box escaped. But everything was destroyed, including the line. So, as so very often happens when British Rail singular line, they reinstated it, but put it through the ground in the middle between the platforms, so it looks rather odd. No idea why the overall, the bridge has been kept. Just one of those things. But you'll notice down here there is a van. There's a towed brake van there, and in my part of the story, a group of enthusiasts, knowing that the line was closing, they decided that they would put a piece of track, they got permission to put a piece of track and a van there, indicating their willingness to buy the branch line when it was no longer needed by British Railways. However, the freight traffic just kept going on and on and on. And in the end, another branch line came up. And so in 1989, they all moved from here and they went across to Chinnor. And it became the Chinnor and Prince's Risborough Railway, which they took over in 1990. It's a nice little mix-in, a bit of fact and fiction, call it faction if you like, but I think it's rather a nice little link. So here now is a representation of what the line became after that disastrous fire. You can see it's just bare ground. There's a wall of containers, but what do you call them, prefab building things beside the line. But as I say, we still, at the present moment in time here, the line hadn't yet been broken between Thame and Cowley. So you've still got the occasional stock transfer, you've still got the occasional specials, and I know one of you was commenting that you rather liked Class 73s. So, just for you, I'm going to be running this today. Now, the Class 73s were a breed of locomotive known as electrodiesels. Let me just... That's probably rather too much of a... I'll bring that in so you can see it a bit closer. Whether you'll notice the name or not, Brighton Evening Argus. And this was a Class 73 that was named put in Pullman livery and named after our local paper on the south coast here. Yeah, how's that? That's perhaps a bit small. Let's bring that. I think that's enough to keep it in focus. Now the 73s were what were known as electro diesels. They operated on the third rail electric, but they also had an auxiliary diesel motor, mainly so they could operate around the freight yards and for short distances on branches that weren't electrified. Their diesel range wasn't excessive, but was just enough. On this particular day that I'm filming, it was running a special. It had been hauled dead to Prince's Risborough, and you'll see it now. We're running through Nevards Telling towards Oxford, and it's going to pick up its special train there. It's going to haul it back as far as Prince's Risborough, and then it will be hauled dead as part of the consist back onto the southern region, where the diesel loco will be took off, and this will take its place for the last leg of the journey on the third rail. Sounds a bit intricate, but it's the kind of thing that happens. So what we'll do, we'll get moving and we'll get it on its way to Oxford, and let's see what its train is when it comes back. But just before that happens, I thought you might like a closer view of this wagon. This is a Great Western Railway origin. It's known as a toad. I think it's a 20-ton brake band, quite a powerful brake band for heavy freight. So there you are. Well, the train is on its way. I mean, normally all you see of it is as it passes and then it's gone, but obviously because this is a round layout, I'll leave it running for 2 or 3 circuits so you can enjoy having a look at it. Or not, as the case may be. But for the 1 or 2 out of you back there who I know are Class 73 fans, this is for you. One more time. So there you have it. Class 73 electro diesel Brighton Evening Argus. See you next time, folks.